All right, I believe a good morning is in order to you. Welcome to Wednesday, August the 30th, and thank you so much for being on this morning. It's good to join you on this chilly. Oh, excuse me. All right, let's try this again. Sorry, I thought I felt some sneezes coming off, and I was gonna wait until they were done, but I should have. So I apologize. But anyway, sorry you had to see that. But anyway, good morning to you. Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to our power up here on August the 30th, and we've got one more day after today in the month of August. Then we jump into September, and so look forward to what God has for us today. It's been exciting studying the book of James, and man, good to be on with you there. Hey, had a good day yesterday. Hope you did too. Actually, got to had some lunch with evangelist Mike Maynor. And he was in town, gave me a call, said, "Hey, let's get some lunch," and so it was great to catch up with him. Mike Maynor will actually be our speaker for our revival services coming up in just over a month in October, and look forward to that. And so I hope that you'll remember that those revival services. But anyway, it's good to catch up with him, and thank you for the blessings after the sneezing. I apologize for all of that. I thought I felt them coming, then they went away, and then as soon as I press go live, boom, hit me. So I apologize for the sneezes there. All right, let's do this. Let's go to James chapter number 1. James chapter number 1 here today, and we'll see what God has for us here. Don't forget to hit that share button so others can jump on live here. All right, verse number 19. Verse number 19 is probably one of the key verses of James, probably maybe one of the more familiar verses in all of the scriptures, as verse number 19 is. And so we'll look at that, and we're going to spend some time on it today. James, really, throughout the book, discusses the issues that are raised here in verse number 19. So let's look at that. It says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren," once again, it's brethren, the word being used here, speaking of believers. So James is writing to those that have trusted Christ as their Savior. "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be," and here it is, okay, "swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath." Okay? And say, wow, that's what's the significance of that? Well, let me share this with you. Our world, and without Christ, we get this all backwards. Okay. The challenge from James is, hey, be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. But what are we? We are very quick to wrath. And then in our wrath, we speak, and it's only after the damage has been done that we're willing to listen. And throughout James, these three topics are addressed. Actually, the rest of chapter number 1 talks about that hearing and listening. Okay, in James chapter 3, it talks about our speech, the tongue, and all of that, and speaking right and speaking godly. And then in James chapter 4, it talks about the wrath of man, and the wrath that man, that struggle that we have with that. And so James, very as we noted, is a very practical book, and the challenge that we want to remind ourselves of today is this: be swift to hear, listen, pay attention. Learn, I think, could be included in that statement there, being swift to hear, be willing to learn, be willing to receive correction. And I'll say this, and this is hard to do, be willing to receive criticism, okay? Now, we don't necessarily like criticism, okay? Because we often we view criticism as it's an attack upon me. How dare they? And that's kind of how we view it. And so criticism, in every critique that we might receive, there is an element of truth. And although typically in the moment of being criticized, the one who's doing the criticizing oftentimes goes overboard, And then the receiver of the criticism, we oftentimes go with the thought, well, that's just not true. Well, you know what, they're just upset. Yeah, well, we never were that good of friends anyways. And we make up all these excuses to not receive criticism. Let me tell you this, be swift to hear. There is an element of truth in every critique that is offered. And so we must learn from it, be swift to hear. And then be slow to speak. We're going to talk about this, James 3, as I already mentioned, but be slow to speak. Sometimes we are so quick to speak up, to defend ourselves, that we miss the truth that isn't being imparted to us. Sometimes we are so loud, so busy talking that we're unwilling to listen. Hey, have you ever Oh, I shouldn't even go there because this is so hard. Have you ever been in a conversation and thought, there is no reason for me to be in this conversation? There is no conversation happening. In fact, all this individual is doing is talking about themselves. And have you ever been in that conversation? Of course you have. And maybe you've been in that conversation, man. I can't get a word in edgewise, and man, this person, they don't want me to say anything. They won't allow me to say anything. And maybe you've been in that type of conversation. Hey, the challenge for us is to be slow to speak. Sometimes we are talking so much that we can't listen, and we are so quick to defend ourselves that we do not listen. We're so quick to give our opinion about something that we're unwilling to listen to somebody else's. And so we must be slow to speak, and be willing to listen first. Let me tell you something. Once something is said, and this probably would go along more in the negative, but once something is said, you can't take it back. The saying that sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never harm me. Maybe names don't harm us physically, but they do hurt. They hurt our hearts. They hurt us emotionally, and so we must be slow to speak. Okay, because once we've said something, you can't take it back. The damage is done, and you know as well as I do, because you've probably lived it just like I have, that people will apologize, say they're sorry for their language, for what they have said, but you know what? The damage has been done. And speech does hurt, and so let's be slow to speak. Have you ever, in the moment, said something you're like, oh, can't believe I just said that, and instantly regretted what you said? Yep, I think we've all been there. Be slow to speak. I say this sometimes, and maybe our people get tired of saying it. Maybe I'm even wrong in saying it. I don't know, but it's just something that I've kind of lived by myself. But just because you think something doesn't mean it needs to be said. Be swift to hear, slow to speak. The Bible tells us that the fool uttereth all his mind. He uttereth all his mind. Sometimes it's best to not say anything. And then we see the progression, swift to hear, and for not, man, it's not good. Be slow to speak. You don't have to, just because you think something doesn't mean you have to say something. Just because somebody has critiqued you doesn't mean, man, you need to fly off the handle. Just because somebody maybe has mistreated you doesn't mean that your response needs to be verbal or physical, for that matter. Be slow to speak. Don't make a situation worse. And then it says, slow to wrath. Slow to wrath, verse number 19. And here's and verse number 20 really quantifies what verse number 19 is saying. Hey, slow to wrath. Why? Verse number 20, for the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Did you know that in your wrath you can lose any testimony that's taken you years to build? In your wrath, you can lose that testimony. In your wrath, you can lose the ability to be able to share the gospel with somebody because you ruined whatever opportunity you might have had because of your wrath, because of your anger, because of your wrong response. And so be slow to wrath. Jesus says we need to turn the other cheek. Don't lose don't lose your testimony because of your wrath. Don't lose the opportunity to witness because of your wrath. Be slow to wrath. Man, the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. And really, what good ever comes from responding in wrath? Very, very little good comes from that. And you know what? We may feel good in the moment. Yep, got him. Oh, we said, man, oh, I wish I would have said that. Oh, I wish I wouldn't have responded in that fashion. And so this verse number 19 really is the kind of the outline for much of the book of James here. Hey, be swift to hear. Be slow to speak. Slow to wrath, for the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Tomorrow we're going to look a little more extensively at the being swift to hear in verses 21 and following, and look forward to that tomorrow. And so come ready to listen tomorrow. Okay, we're going to end there today, and we'll pick up verse number 21. Tomorrow, looking at that word, you look at that, the phrasing, superfluity of naughtiness, you see in verse 21. Hey, what does that mean? We'll discuss that tomorrow, as well as, man, being doers of the word, verse number 22. One of the most practical verses in all of the scripture. We'll look at that tomorrow as well. All right, thank you so much for watching today. Hit that share button if you haven't done so already. We're going to greet everybody in just a moment. Let me remind you about a couple things. Tonight, we have service tonight, 6 o'clock. We're looking at how do we operate in this social justice climate that we find ourselves in. We began looking at social justice, some of the social justices in society. We looked at last week and how Marxist it is, and how at the root of every social justice campaign, if you will, is the redistribution of wealth and power and so on. And so we're going to be looking at how do we respond to that? How do we practically live in a social justice charged society? We'll look at that tonight. And so that'll be at 6 o'clock. Hope to see them. And then this weekend, man, big weekend. We have our yard sale here at the church this coming Saturday, 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And so if you want to participate in that and sell some things, hey, just reach out to me or show up Saturday. We'll get you squared away. And man, it's gonna be a great day, a great time of fellowship. We're going to be giving the gospel out, giving people packets of information about the church, the gospel, and so on. And then also on Sunday is Back to School Sunday. So have all of your young people in church. We're going to have backpacks for everybody. And man, we'll have some crayons and some pencils, all that good stuff. And man, these are pretty sharp looking bags as well, and they're going to like them. And so we'll have those survival kits for our young people. So be sure to be here on Saturday. Okay, really quick, let's welcome those who are watching live. Gene, good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Man, I don't know how cold it is downstate, but man, it's chilly here today. Probably mid-40s right now. But it's supposed to warm up pretty nice. Jody, good morning to you, and hope that you are doing well. Dee, thank you so much for being on. Good to see you this morning. Good morning to you. David, good morning to you as well. Good to have you on. Charlie and Marcia, good to have you guys on as well. Ingrid, good morning to you. Love you. Have a great day. Cliff and Karen, good morning to you both as well. Good to have you on this morning. Dennis and Geraldine, good morning to you. And it is beautiful out there, a little chilly, but beautiful out there. Feels so good. Have a great day, both of you. Paula, good morning to you as well. And Ingrid, glad you're excited about Saturday. I know you love yard sailing. Hey, one of the reasons why we do the yard sale here at the church is to keep my wife away from the junk in the trunk in town. That's going on Saturday as well. but don't tell her I said that, all right? Have a good day, everybody. Lord willing, we'll see you all this evening, 6 o'clock.